Our next finalist is Eleonora Mancuso from the French Literature Department. Eleonora will be presenting a talk titled Disability, Spectacle, and the Stories That Shape Us. Welcome.
Stories about bodies have always fascinated us, but the way we consume them has changed. Today, on social media and in films, we watch bodies in crisis and we stare. We react with fascination, pity, or even anxiety. And then we keep watching. We live in a culture that constantly observes bodies, especially those seen as different or disabled. And that creates a problem. When the stories we consume present disability as spectacle, they shape how we understand difference. Whose bodies we see as normal, whose lives we see as valuable, and whose suffering becomes entertainment. So where does this way of looking come from? In completing my PhD in French literature, I discovered it takes shape in the 19th century, when ideas about normal and abnormal bodies were being constructed through science and literature. Realist novels claim to show life as it is, but to make that reality compelling, they had to rely on different kinds of bodies. And you know, novels like Frankenstein, a creature made of different body parts, and The Hunchback of Notre Dame, whose main character relies on his own disability, those are 19th century novels. So in my research, I claimed that disability was not simply represented in this text. It was staged and put on display. In one of Balzac's most famous novels, the protagonist is left for dead on the battlefield, but he survives. 10 years later, no one recognizes him. His disfigured body becomes something others stare at, a spectacle that gives the story its power. This reflects a broader fascination with bodies on display in 19th century Paris, where people visited the morgue to view unidentified corpses behind glass. It was a form of entertainment, like going to the museum or the theater for free. So when I studied Balzac's novel, I turned to wax museums, where lifelike figures were exhibited to the public. Think of Madame Tussaud. Like those figures, Balzac's protagonist is a living exhibit placed on display for others to observe. So these novels didn't simply represent disability. They made it compelling. They didn't simply represent reality. They made it compelling by relying and putting bodily difference on display. So, and this logic is still with us. Our fascination with bodies didn't come from nowhere. It was learned. 19th century literature trained people to look at bodily difference with the fascination, curiosity, and fear. So the next time you find yourself viewing an episode of Grey's Anatomy, ask yourself, what's keeping you watching? Because from the 19th century to today's screens, the stories we consume don't just entertain us. They teach us how to see. Thank you.